Welcome once again to the Professional Lovers Channel. I'm Al.
And I'm Patty, and we are the Professional Lovers. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about tonight in a short period of time.
Vegas Unpack.
But if this is your first time with us, we have been privileged to facilitate relationships for married couples and serious couples, engaged couples. And so we use that experience in our 27 years to talk about marital issues through the lens of Married at First Sight. So if this is your first time, welcome. We're glad to have you. Like us, share with other people who you think would benefit from just hearing us talk about relationships through the eyes of our Married at First Sight couples. So let's just dive in and let's start. Let's just do it in order as we did before. And tonight started with Virginia and Eric. So tonight's episode was the honeymoon starting, the families getting to know the other.
Right.
So everybody had brunch with the other spouse's family.
Yeah.
And then comparing notes to
getting to know you sessions,
right.
You know.
So one thing that I thought was interesting, I would think that most families would be hesitant to spill the beans about the bad sides of their family member because these are strangers, so it's not like they're really getting to know.
Yeah, but
they have known that person.
I mean, this isn't just like a girlfriend or somebody you just bringing home. These are married folks. This is your spouse. Now y'all are family. It might be the first time you meeting each other. It's abstract and whatnot, but officially you are family.
Yeah, I was still a little surprised that they were so forthcoming.
Well, I mean,
some of the families were forthcoming about their child.
But I mean, this ain't a time to play around. I mean,
it's not. It's not.
You don't have to sugarcoat stuff. And dude got an attitude. I mean, as his spouse, he's got a little attitude problem. Maybe not label it a problem, but yes, he gets boisterous or animated when he's upset,
opinionated,
stuff like that. But I mean, but you'd want to know that. It might be a little scary to hear at times, especially now, but you'd want to know that.
So we've already talked about in the past the glaring differences between Eric and Virginia, mainly that he is already mid-30s, married before, has had his partying days, is much more settled. And she, on the other hand, is a drinker, partier, she's fun 26. Girl. Yeah.
When he was 26, he did too. He said he enjoyed college.
No, he said college, when he was in college.
Some people be in college at 26.
Yeah, but anyway.
And that's because they had fun.
So it was good that they both recognized that major difference between their ages and the phases that they are in right now.
Yeah.
Because that's really important. And, to Eric's credit, he said, I don't have a problem with the partying and the drinking as long as it doesn't interfere with us. Let's see how long that actually lasts that way.
Although later on, he did divulge a little something that was kind of interesting.
Which was?
His resistance on other gendered friends.
Oh, well, that's coming up for next week.
Yeah, but he seemed very stern about that. I was surprised at that.
Well, I mean, but again, we're seeing clips from next week. It's not in context. They do that for dramatic effect. So we'll save that for next week. But for this week, they both saw the difference. She was a little worried about his button-up personality and his conservatism. and asked his mom about that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I mean, his mom did say he likes to have fun, you know.
And think about it. I mean, throughout this particular episode, he definitely was, I guess, understanding of her stage in life.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because, and that's how he related that, you know, he was there, he's been there, you know, been there, done that. But he's still enthused about her. You know, so.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think in her explaining or being a little bit more receptive and understanding the lifestyle that he has, which is established. I mean, you know, he's a professional pilot. He goes for 3 and 4 days at a time, you know, and it was kind of like how I thought about it in the very beginning.
Yeah, and I was going to say, kudos to you for seeing that as a potential advantage for her.
Because of the variance, because of, you know, the lifestyle that, you know, she wouldn't have to necessarily give up totally, but because he's gone, she can still kind of do her thing and understand that, yes, she is now married and it won't be 24/7. It won't be all the time. Now when he's home. They're a married couple, you know. So I think that kind of, that the lifestyle or the professional style right now plays well in their relationship and their growth.
I like how he right away, day one, as in day one of being married, told her right up front about his marriage, told her parents, her dad and stepmom right up front about being married. And, you know, dad was receptive because dad's been there, been through it, so he understood it. But, I mean, that just showed Eric's maturity level. Yeah. Just coming out and just saying, I need to let you know this right now. Because he didn't have to let them know, her know right then. Because they've got the rest of the honeymoon to get into that. But he put it right on the table. And I like that. Of course, she got scared with his mom talking about grandkids already. But then again, he's 34.
She's
so
26.
She's
and
been
she's
waiting.
Not adverse, but she
you know
ain't
how
in
that
a rush.
is with your mama wanting grandkids right away.
She told me, go make one. Just go make one for me.
He didn't have to even be married to make one for her. That's how desperate she was.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what happens when you keep mamas waiting so long.
I had to find the right one.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And thankfully, you waited until you got the right one. Amen. And so, you know, with them going to Vegas, and she's a party girl, we'll see how that works out, because she was already looking for the booze when they got into the room. And he was like, what, already? I mean, you don't want to look at what the room, you know, tour the room. Hey, go right to the bar. You know me. She did make a comment, of course, that kind of worries me a little bit, and that is that she will always be a drinker. Now, she said that. It's one thing to be a partier, you know, that, you know, eventually you hopefully will grow out of that. But to say that I will probably always be a drinker, that's concerning.
Well, things, I mean, as you
because
grow,
right now,
change.
And she is 26 and a partier, it's a little out of balance in my estimation.
It's because you've never been a partier.
Or a drinker. But we've talked about that, and I get that. So, you know, but we'll see how that plays out. Haley and Jacob continue to be awkward. Yeah. Although, you know, they had some discussion, but unlike the other couples, it was not very substantive.
Yeah, well,
to me, it was all surface the whole time, and he seemed to talk a lot about himself. Now, again, we don't know if this is production and editing that was always centering on, but he was always talking about himself, his diet,
house,
his eating habits, his house, his, you know, his little beach, it just kind of went on and on and on.
And who knows, that might be his nervous condition in communicating. I don't know.
Being nervous.
But again,
But it was with her, and it was with her parents and brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's just a lot more well-rounded as an individual and experience than
Yeah.
he is. I
Yeah.
mean, he seems a little limited. I mean,
Well, being a loner all of your life,
Yeah.
and that is the difference that she got, in talking to his parents, that he's pretty much been a loner all his life, and she's been a social person. So that was a little pause for concern.
and I was wondering. I don't remember exactly where he's from, but mom and dad seem like they live in a little shack somewhere in a recluse area. That
You mean his parents?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They seemed not worldly. I mean, nothing wrong with that. But just understanding the type of people that you put together.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that he's, and I don't want to say sheltered. I don't believe that he's been sheltered. I just think that he's been limited in his exposure and his exploration.
Well, I mean, and that shows because he has created his own world right in his house, and he doesn't have to go anywhere. He works out at his house. He eats at his house. He plays at his house. I mean, he doesn't have to go anywhere. And aren't you glad that my introvertedness is not quite to that level?
Well, you didn't stop yourself from going places. I mean, you may
I'm
like
just
to
saying,
stay
as
home,
an introvert,
Yeah, but
it's not to that extreme.
But again, you had brothers that would
Yes.
definitely pull all of that out of you, whether
Yes.
you wanted it to come out or not.
I did. I do.
And I don't know if he's an only child. It kind of almost seems like it, and it might be part of the issue.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, well, it was only mom and dad, no siblings.
We'll have. That's true.
Yeah,
In the conversation,
Yeah.
you mean? Yeah. Well, and her family didn't hold back any punches. Oh, you'll get to know her when
Yeah.
she's tired or hungry.
Mhm.
You'll know it. You'll know it.
Just feed her.
I mean, and if she's mad, give her space.
And I mean,
Which is good to know because
Yeah.
the other side of it, when we get to the next couple, it was about, how do you handle conflict? And we talked, I think it was last week, how just like everybody has a communication style, everybody has a love style, everybody has a conflict
resolution style.
Exactly.
That's if they choose to resolve conflict.
But that's a style as well.
To
As
not
Clara talked about being non-confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
And people who are non-confrontational are people who will run away from conflict, shut it down,
Right.
so they don't have to deal with it, which is not healthy either.
True. By no means.
Right. So, but her sociability and his loner tendencies will be, a pitfall, a possible pitfall for them.
If the personalities were different or opposite with the age, the way it is, because again, he's 38. He's set in his ways for the most part. The way I think of it.
But I mean,
not to say that he can't.
But I mean, at the same time, she's been single for 7 years,
Right.
which means she's set in her ways as well.
But she's a little more live than he is.
But what I'm saying is, anybody who's been single a long time, and just like you and I were single for a long time and lived a certain way in that period. So everybody's got to make adjustments.
True.
And so she's going to have to make adjustments just like he's going to have to make adjustments.
Yeah. But it's just a little, well, I think when you're 38, it's a little more difficult. You've made some adjustments to get the way you are.
Yeah.
You know.
But agreeing to do this process means he's going to have to do some more.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not, but I think I don't know. I'm just looking at the vast difference in really personalities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
All right. Well, Clara and Ryan. He discovered that she's a sleepwalker and talker. I can't imagine what that is like when you don't know somebody and you're sleeping and all of a sudden they start talking and you know, so
actually,
so he said he didn't sleep well.
Yeah, she's a mover in the bed. But again, if you're accustomed to sleeping by yourself, you can thrash and be fine and just find your comfortable spot. I mean, depending on how you sleep, and evidently she probably, if she talks and walks, she probably don't have any idea how she sleeps.
Yeah, that's a little scary. So a couple of areas of possible pitfalls for them. I thought it was interesting that her parents told Ryan that they didn't confront each other in front of her. They did not handle any conflicts in front of her. So they realized that might have stunted her ability to understand how to positively resolve conflict.
Situations.
And I think that's important because there are a lot of couples who feel that same way, that they should not handle any conflict in front of their children. And I think when you have that kind of philosophy, that you can go too far and not demonstrate as an example,
not being authentic,
right? And not giving an example to your children about how to positively resolve conflict. Now, don't get me wrong, arguing in front of your kids is one thing. Resolving conflict in a spirited discussion, you can't always hide that, and I don't know that you should always hide that.
True. I don't think you should. I mean, our son sometimes, even when he just hears us get into a spirited discussion, it's not even a conflict. He's like rushing, just coming to see.
Yeah, he has done that a few times. And growing up,
arguing?
He did not like to hear us.
No, because again, we don't raise our voice normally. But an excited conversation, he was just making sure that it was just a loud conversation.
But it also made him feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, no.
But that's again, he has to learn that there is going to be conflict in relationships, and there is a positive way to deal with that, and there are negative ways to deal with that. Sure. And so, so yes, if you have a conflict style that is a negative style, cursing each other out, yelling and screaming, being threatening, being emotionally abusive, those are not things that you want your kids to experience.
True.
Okay, and that suggests that as a couple, you need to work out how to use more of a positive style in settling conflict.
Yeah, I always believe that communication is the most important part of any relationship, and regardless of how you feel going through it, and whatever the instance may be, you should be able to discuss your way through it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one area that they might have a potential pitfall. The other is church.
Yeah, spirituality. And I'll leave it at that. But I get the feeling that Clara was kind of forced.
Yes. And
I think that was in grade school, and then she did 1 year of Bible college. And
hadn't been to church since.
That was it.
And that can be a potential conflict because with his parents both being pastors, and spirituality being a major piece of how they live and how he lives, and he wants his kids raised that way, and she is not.
And I think people often leave out that specific detail within their relationships when they become serious.
Yeah.
Of their level of spirituality and where they are in
their philosophies about it.
And that is critical.
Because even if the couple agree to have some type of compromise, when kids come into the picture,
whose side?
That can get dicey.
Yeah.
And we've seen that happen, and
too close.
And that's why it's very important that a couple be on the same page with that, and we know that from personal experience.
Yeah.
As friends. I grew up in a very spiritual faith-based household, and kept that as part of my life, and you did not.
Well, to
household, not
right.
exposure.
No, to our benefit, I grew up in faith-based schools.
Right.
From junior high school on.
Yeah, but and had a lot of exposure to different religions.
Yeah.
Within your family.
True.
Although your immediate family did not necessarily ascribe to one
right.
in particular, like mine did. But so yeah, that was
it's a critical point.
It's a very critical point.
Yeah.
Very critical point. All right. So the next in line is Paige and Chris, who have already had drama because they had sex a couple times. Then Chris kind of went AWOL because he's having a meltdown about the fact that the sex did not generate attraction for him of her the way he thought it was going to. And
because he was not
now
attracted
he's in
to
a
her
quandary
the way he's accustomed to being attracted
to someone because she's not his physical type.
Yeah.
And so because sex did not generate that for him, now he's in a quandary because he doesn't know how to feel, and he doesn't like feeling the way he's feeling, and everything is coming from his perspective.
Yeah.
Everything came from his perspective. There was no thought expressed about how she might be feeling.
Yeah, there was never a question.
He also showed that he uses communication as just a way of cleansing his mind. There is no tact. There is no empathy displayed in how he says what he says or when he says what he says. And it was kind of clear that his dad
is similar.
Yes, that's how their household operated.
Yeah.
Because it was interesting when Paige sat down with his family and shared the fact that she was confused because they've had sex, not just once, and then after sex, you tell me that I'm not really attracted to you. So you leave her feeling used.
And I mean, literally leave AWOL, like
for hours.
Yeah, a couple hours. I mean,
and the parents were not happy. Now, mom kind of started taking up for him at the beginning until she found out it was more than just once.
Yeah.
And then when the parents confronted him about it, he got an attitude with her.
Before you even go in there, you talked about mom defending him until a little further detail and was like, okay. But dad was like, well, I taught him to be forthright and express
that's what it
his
was.
feelings.
Well, at least my son, I taught him to not be a deceiver.
I'm like, what?
And that was key because he was, I've taught him to say what's on his mind and to be forthright, but yet he wasn't forthright in having sex with someone he didn't feel attracted to and letting her, as she said, if we had that conversation before the sex, that would have been one thing. But to be all over me more than once and then have that conversation with me, then in a way he was being deceptive.
Yeah.
So, but dad sees communication as just a way of cleansing my mind and telling you what's on my mind, which is to me, an immature level of communication.
It's a selfish level of communication.
Yes, it is. Now, I do appreciate the fact that his parents began to affirm her after finding out what the discussion was. But he then started blaming her for disrespecting him for talking about sex to his parents and to her male friends.
He blamed her for everything he felt uncomfortable about.
Exactly. And it's interesting that he talked about how one part of his Chicago code was that you don't talk about sex, to other people. But he'd been talking about sex on camera from day one.
She needs to be a freak in the bed.
And I want a honeymoon baby. And I hope that she's ready to give me some. And she needs to be...
And now suddenly it's taboo. We can't talk about it.
Yeah. And so a lot of double standards, a lot of self-centeredness, a lot of, it's just, it's a lot. And so nothing yet is making me feel good about him as a partner in this relationship.
And Paige,
with all that,
Paige is a unique woman. She is, and I believe that she's an extremely well-rounded woman. And the way in which she communicates, and she's spiritually centered, and the objective mindset that she has, being willing to work and understanding that it's going to take work. She's willing to work through this situation.
And again, the fact that the experts put them together, and he can see why the experts put them together.
But that ain't what he wants.
No.
And that's the whole issue.
That's the whole issue.
It's not what he wants.
It's not what he envisioned, and it's not what he wants.
Yeah. He had expectations.
Yeah. And so now he's having little mini tantrums because
it's not what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. So they've already started in the drama department. Yeah. And somehow I don't think that it's going to get much better. And we see from clips from next week that it's not going to get much better. And I think somebody got the launch codes and they set them off. So we're going to see what happens next week. Yeah. And then our last couple, the one that you like. Yeah. The vibing couple, Brianna and Vincent. So their family gatherings. Vincent's family told her that when he gets angry, he gets a little hot. He's got that Latin fire, which he disputed.
Yeah, he said he don't,
Oh no, I'm calm.
I'm calm. I'm at it. I don't,
I don't know. And then her family just put her on blast. She is very opinion. Oh, she ain't gonna have any problem telling you what she thinks about anything. So
I think they're gonna be fun.
I do too. And we've already seen, him having a little family drama with his grandmother having a heart attack right when they get on their honeymoon, and she, of course, giving him the support,
consoling him.
The support that he needed.
I'm sure that even felt strange to him, but I'm sure he relished all of it.
Well, especially because that was the issue in his relationship that broke up.
That he didn't have support.
Right. That he didn't feel like she had his back. Yeah. And so for Brianna to show that right away, that I got your back. Yeah.
That's good drama.
Right.
Where something that's, not intimidating to your relationship, it brings you strong. It brings you closer together, and it strengthens your bond.
And so we'll be able to see whether or not he ends up having to leave early, but hopefully not. Hopefully they can spend the time that they need in Vegas. Yeah. And it's unfortunate. Vegas, they couldn't go out of the country. Everybody else has been able to go out of the country, and they got to go to Vegas.
And the thing about it, half of the people
have already been multiple times
in this year.
Yeah. So, but they can still have a lot of fun. Yeah. And so that's what we hope happens, along with the drama that we know is coming next week. So there you have it. We've talked about all the couples, the possible pitfalls they might be having to navigate and negotiate as they move forward. And so we're glad that you were here to join us and hope you got something from it. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes.
Until then, stay safe and peace.
Enjoy.